I need to say something before I start, and I think it matters. I think it changes how you hear the rest of this. I'm not someone who believes in ghosts. I never have been. I don't watch horror movies. I don't listen to podcasts about the unexplained. I'm 34, bad knee, divorced. I work a night security job, or I did at a place called Carver Hollis Medical Supply. 3-story commercial building off Route 9 in southern New Jersey. They ship orthopedic equipment and surgical tools to hospitals up and down the East Coast. That's it. That's the kind of place it was. Knee braces and titanium screws. I have a 7-year-old daughter named Lily. I see her every other weekend. She draws me pictures, stick figures with big round heads, me and her holding hands. I keep every single one folded in my wallet. I don't know if that's normal. I don't care. Some mornings, opening one of those drawings is the only thing that reminds me I exist in someone else's life. I'm wearing my father's watch right now. Silver Timex, scratched face. The clasp is loose, been meaning to fix it for years. He gave it to me when I turned 18. Said, "So you always know what time it is." I think he meant something more by that, but he was never the kind of man who could say the bigger thing. I mentioned the watch because it becomes important later. I didn't know that at the time. That's who I am, or who I was. I keep going back and forth on that. I started at Carver Hollis in March. Overnight shift, 11 to 7, 4 nights a week. Ground floor was shipping and receiving, wide corridors that always smelled like cardboard and packing tape. That smell gets into everything. Your jacket, your car, your hair. Second floor was offices. Third floor was storage. Industrial shelving, floor to ceiling, packed with boxes of medical components. The air on the third floor was different. I noticed it the first night. Cooler than the rest of the building, drier. And there was this taste, faint, metallic, like holding a penny under your tongue. I asked Danny about it once. He said it was the old ductwork. Building's got its own lungs, he said. Breathes different up there. I need to tell you about Danny. He worked evenings, 6 to midnight, cleaning, light maintenance, small repairs. We overlapped for about an hour each night. Filipino, maybe 50. Built low and solid, like someone who'd been carrying heavy things his entire life and stopped noticing. He whistled old Motown while he mopped. Off-key. Same songs, same order, every single night. My Girl first, then Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Then one I could never identify, but he always whistled it slower, with more feeling, like it was for somebody. Danny left sandwiches in the break room fridge for me. Turkey on white. Sticky note. For Marcus, eat this. You're too skinny. He called everyone brother. He'd been at Carver Hollis for 11 years. Knew the building the way some people know their childhood home. Every door, every pipe, every ceiling tile that was loose. He told me once he'd spent more nights inside those walls than inside his own house. The building knows me, he said, and I know her. She's got moods. Some nights she settles right down. Some nights she doesn't. I remember laughing at that. The security office was on the ground floor, tucked behind the main entrance lobby. Small room, desk with a coffee stain shaped like a crescent moon. Swivel chair, one armrest broken. 16 monitors on the wall, feeds from cameras all over the building. Hallways, stairwells, loading dock, parking lot, third floor, sit, watch. 3 rounds per shift, midnight, 3 a.m., 5:30. Check the doors. Log anything unusual. For 7 weeks, nothing was unusual. The biggest thing that happened was a raccoon. 2 in the morning, camera 4, loading dock. Fat thing, fearless, knocked the trash can lid clean off and started going through the bag like it was looking for something specific. Camera 4 was the one closest to the building's east wall, same side as the third floor east corridor. I wrote it up. 2:14 a.m., animal activity near Dock B. My supervisor, Ray, told me the next day I didn't need to log raccoons. But here's something I only thought about later. That raccoon wasn't moving toward the trash. It was already past the trash when I first saw it on the monitor. It was moving away from the building wall. Quick, low to the ground. Probably nothing. It was a Thursday in early May when it started. I remember because my ex-wife called that evening to tell me she was selling the house. Our house. She didn't need my permission. It was hers legally, but she wanted to let me know as a courtesy. Courtesy. Like I was a neighbor. Like Lily hadn't learned to walk on the living room carpet between the couch and the TV stand. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes after that. Engine off. Hands on the wheel. Not angry. Not crying. Just, I don't know. Empty in a way that didn't feel temporary. Danny knocked on my car window. "You planning on working tonight, brother? Or you just meditating out here?" I went in. Made coffee. The cheap stuff, pre-ground. Tasted like somebody described coffee to a machine and the machine tried its best. Danny mopped the lobby. My girl. Off key. I sat down at the desk. He stopped by around 11:40 on his way out. "Heading out. You good?" "I'm good." "You don't look good. You look like a man who got a phone call he didn't want." I almost told him about the house. Almost. But I just shrugged. He pointed at me with the mop handle. "Whatever it is, brother, it'll look smaller in the morning. Everything does." 2 knocks on the door frame. Gone. Midnight round. Ground floor, every door, every lock. 2nd floor offices. Everything secured. Then the 3rd floor. I want to mention something here that I didn't think about at the time. When I pushed through the stairwell door into the east corridor that night, I paused. Not for long. A second, maybe. Hand still on the door. And I felt, I don't know, like the hallway was already full of something. Not a person, not a sound. More like a tension. Like walking into a room where someone had just been sitting and you can still feel the warmth of the chair. I let the door close behind me. Walked the corridor. My footsteps echoed in a way that never sounded quite right up there. A beat too slow, like the building was hearing me and repeating it back from memory. Finished the round, back downstairs. Desk, coffee. About 40 minutes later, 1:45, I glanced up at camera 12. 3rd floor, east corridor. Someone was walking through it. I sat forward. Chair creaked. First thought was practical. Break in. Warehouses get hit. People looking for stuff to sell. But this person wasn't moving like that. No rushing, no looking over their shoulder. Just walking. Calm, steady. Hands at their sides. Head straight, like they belonged there. Like they'd walked that corridor 100 times before. Dark jacket. My jacket. I stared at the monitor. The footage was that standard grainy black and white. Everything a little underwater, but the shape was clear. Medium build. Dark jacket, dark pants. A way of moving I recognized, but didn't. I didn't want to place. Buffer glitch. That's what I told myself. Old footage replaying over the live feed. Happens with cheap systems. I'm not a tech guy. It seemed possible. The figure walked to the end of the corridor, turned left, and was gone. I checked every 3rd floor camera. Empty. All of them. Wrote it in the log. 12:47 a.m. Possible camera malfunction. 3rd floor east corridor. Reviewed. No personnel found. My hands were shaking when I set down the pen. The coffee was rippling in the cup. 4 nights later. Tuesday, 2 a.m. I was at the desk going through old texts from my ex. Messages from back when we were still trying. She used to text me, "Drive safe before every shift." I was reading those. Movement on camera 12. Same corridor, same figure, same jacket. And this time I really watched the walk, the slight drag of the right foot, that lean in the shoulders. I knew it the way you know your own voice on a recording. You hear it and you think, that can't be me, but you know it is. I didn't go upstairs. I need to explain that because What I did instead is the part that actually started changing me. I stayed in the chair. I watched. I let the figure walk the full length of the east corridor, turn into the west corridor, and keep going. I followed it camera to camera for 11 minutes, the longest I'd ever seen it, and I studied it the way you study someone across a room that you think you might know. When it was gone, I rewound the footage, found the timestamp, 2:07 a.m., played it back, got my face close to the monitor, slowed it down. It was me. I know how that sounds. But listen. The way I hold my flashlight, low by my hip, angled left because my right wrist has this turn to it from a skateboarding fall when I was 19. The limp from my knee that shows up worse when I'm tired. This thing I do where I tilt my head slightly right when I'm scanning, I didn't even know I did that until I saw myself doing it from the outside. Me. Walking the 3rd floor at 2:07 a.m. And me. Sitting at the desk at 2:07 a.m. I sat with that for a long time, and what I felt wasn't fear, not exactly. It was embarrassment, like I'd been caught somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. Like the version of me up there was the one who'd actually shown up to work, and I was just the one sitting in the chair, pretending. I went home that morning and stood in the bathroom doorway looking at my reflection. Not examining it, not testing it, just trying to feel like the person in the mirror was me, trying to remember what that was supposed to feel like. I couldn't, but I found an explanation. And for a while, that was enough. Next shift, I went through the CCTV system menus, found the model number, Hivision XR-400, old system. Cheap. I searched it on my phone during my break and found a maintenance forum, thread from 2019. 4 different users, same complaint. Ghost playback. Apparently the XR400 had a known buffer error. Under certain conditions, temperature changes, fragmented hard drives, the system could overlay old footage onto the live feed. Same camera, same angle. Timestamp shows current, but the image is from a previous recording. I read that thread 3 times, and something unlocked in my chest. Physical relief, like a fist opening. My jaw unclenched. I actually laughed out loud, alone, 3 in the morning. A buffer error. That was it. For 11 days, I believed that. 11 good days. I slept, I ate, I called Lily on a Wednesday afternoon just to hear her voice. His name is Mr. Buttons, Daddy. He changed his shell. He lives in a blue one now. That's great, baby. Do crabs know who they are when they change shells? She was 7. She didn't know what she was really asking me. Yeah, I said. Yeah, they know. I almost had it put away. The whole thing. A story for someday. Something to tell someone over drinks. Man, you won't believe this, but the cameras at my old job used to glitch and... Then, Danny said something. It was a Wednesday. He was up on a stepladder replacing a fluorescent tube on the 2nd floor. I was passing through on my midnight round. The old tube was buzzing in his hand like a dying insect. Hey, Marcus, you been doing extra rounds? I stopped walking. What do you mean? 3rd floor. The motion log keeps triggering on the east corridor. Time-stamped when you should be at the desk. He didn't look down. Just kept fitting the new tube. I figured you were going up more than the schedule says. Some guys do that when they get bored. I haven't been going up extra. He looked down at me, held the old tube across his knees. Huh. Pause. Well, something's triggering up there. Motion sensors don't buffer error, brother. He said it like it was nothing. Maintenance talk, but I heard it. Motion sensors don't buffer error. The cameras, maybe. Old footage replaying, sure. But the motion sensors were separate hardware. Infrared. They detect body heat, physical movement. They can't replay anything. They only react to what's actually there. Something was on the 3rd floor when I was sitting at the desk. I finished my round that night on autopilot. I don't remember walking back downstairs. I don't remember sitting down. I just remember being in the chair again, looking at the monitors, and feeling like I was watching myself from somewhere above, like I was footage of a man pretending to work. After that, the events didn't change. The figure still appeared, once, twice a week. Same route, calm, patient. What changed was me. I stopped going to the break room, ate at the desk, facing the monitors. Danny started leaving the sandwiches there instead of in the fridge. Sticky notes in his careful handwriting. Turkey, eat. I'd eat them, but I stopped reading the notes because the kindness in them made something behind my ribs feel like it was going to crack. I stopped looking people in the eye. I didn't notice at first. Then one night I realized that the whole time Danny had been talking to me, I'd been staring at the wall behind his left shoulder. I couldn't look at faces anymore. They felt, I don't know, unreliable, like they could change. One night, late May, Danny brought me coffee, set it on the desk, but he didn't leave, just leaned in the doorway with his arms crossed, watching me watch the monitors. Marcus. Yeah. You're different, brother. I'm just tired. No. Quiet. Careful. You're different. You used to sit in that chair like a man killing time. Now you sit in it like a man waiting for something to come get him. I didn't say anything. Camera 12 showed an empty corridor. Concrete, shelving, shadows. Is it the divorce? Your kid? Something in the building? It's nothing, Danny. He stood there a moment longer. Then quiet, almost to himself. You know, the last guy who worked this shift, before you. He lasted about 4 months, left pretty sudden. I asked him once if everything was okay. He paused. He said the same thing you just said. 2 knocks on the door frame. I sat alone with that. The last guy. 4 months. Left sudden. Same thing I just said. I wanted to chase Danny down the hall, grab his arm. What do you mean, the last guy? What did he see? Did he tell you anything? But I didn't move, because part of me, a part that had been growing quietly for weeks, didn't want to know. If the last guy saw what I was seeing, then this had nothing to do with cameras or buffer errors. It had to do with the building, or the corridor, or whatever happens to the person who sits in that chair and walks those floors at night for long enough. I don't know what it is. I never figured it out. I'm not going to pretend I did, because that would be a lie, and I promised myself that if I ever told this story, I'd tell it the way I actually lived it. Confused, scared, understanding about half of it and refusing to look at the rest. June 19th. Past 2 a.m. Danny had left hours ago. 2 knocks. Night, brother. Building was empty. Just me and the monitors and the hum of the ventilation and one fluorescent tube above my desk that had been threatening to die for a month. I was looking at my phone. Lily had sent a drawing. 2 stick figures. The tall one had a circle on its chest that said, God. The small one was holding the tall one's hand. Underneath, in big wobbly letters, me and Daddy at work. I sat there smiling at that for longer than I should have. Set the phone down, looked up. Camera 12. The figure was there, stomach gone, just dropped. 2 weeks since the last time. I'd been starting to think maybe it was over. No, that's not true. I knew it wasn't over. I'd known since the motion sensors, since Danny mentioned the last guard. I'd just been pretending, the way you pretend you're not sick because you've got stuff to do tomorrow. But this time was different. It stopped. It had never done that before. Every other time, it just walked. Smooth, continuous, like breathing, like it didn't know how to do anything else. This time it stopped, dead center of the frame. Under one of the half-lit fluorescent fixtures, light falling directly on its head and shoulders. It turned, slowly, like someone hearing their name from very far away. Turned toward the camera. and stood there. I couldn't make out the face. The resolution wasn't good enough for that. Just the outline. Head, shoulders, jacket, but the posture. The slight forward lean. Left hand hanging looser than the right. Weight shifted to the left leg to spare the right knee. That's how I stand. When I'm looking at something I don't understand. That exact posture. The arm came up, slow, and the jacket sleeve rode up about an inch. And I saw the watch. Grainy, grey, but I knew the shape. Knew the way the clasp caught the light. I looked down at my own wrist. Same watch. Same scratch across the face. Same loose clasp. Looked back at the screen. Same scratch. Same clasp. The hand waved. Small. Not dramatic. Fingers opening, hand tilting slightly to the right. The way I wave at Lily when I drop her off at her mother's house. That exact wave. The one that means I see you and I'll be here and please remember me. Something happened to me. I can't describe it right. It wasn't fear. It was more like the floor just wasn't there. Like I was falling through the place where I used to exist and there was nothing underneath and I couldn't tell if I was the man at the desk or the figure on the screen or if that was even a real distinction anymore or if it ever had been. I stood up. Chair cracked against the wall. Keys, phone, Lily's drawing still on the screen. Shoved it in my pocket, out through the lobby, through the doors, parking lot, night air, rain and asphalt. Couldn't feel it. Car, key, drove. I didn't look in the rearview mirror, not once. Called Ray the next morning. I'm done. He asked about notice. I said no. Danny texted that evening. Heard you left. Everything all right, brother? Yeah, all good. Thanks for everything, Danny. Thumbs up. Then a minute later. You know where to find me if you need anything. I pulled up his number. Hit call. It rang once. Twice. I hung up on the third ring. I already knew how the conversation would go. He'd pause. Then he'd say, "That's crazy, Marcus. Cameras glitch all the time. You're fine. You're you. Come on, brother." And he'd mean it. Every word. And his voice would be warm and steady and exactly what I needed to hear. And it wouldn't help. That's what I couldn't get past. The problem was never that I didn't have someone to tell. The problem was that someone else's certainty can't replace your own. Danny could tell me I'm real every single day and I'd believe that he believed it. But I wouldn't feel it. Not the way I used to. Not the way you're supposed to. I let the text sit there unanswered. Danny never pushed. That was Danny. He just left the door open, and I stood on the other side of it, unable to walk through. That was 3 months ago. I work at a home improvement store now. Daytime. Orange apron. I help people find PVC fittings. There are people around me all day. Noise, light, normal things. A few weeks back, GPS rerouted me through construction, took me right down Route 9, past Carver Hollis. I didn't plan to look, but the lobby lights were on, and through the glass I could see someone mopping the floor. Danny. Same posture, same rhythm, and even through the car window, doing 40 and a 35, I could swear I heard him whistling. My girl. Off key, same as always. I pulled over 2 blocks down and sat there for 15 minutes with the engine running. Not because I was scared. Because I missed him. I missed that life, the boring job, the kind man who left sandwiches on my desk. The version of myself whose biggest problem was a raccoon near the loading dock. That door's closed now. I closed it. Here's what didn't close with it. I flinch at security cameras now. It's small, just a hitch in my step, a turn of the head. I don't think anyone's noticed. The bathroom mirror in my apartment has a piece of cardboard taped over it. 2 months now. I brush my teeth facing the wall. I shave by feel. Last week the razor caught my jaw, right side, and I held a paper towel to it and watched the red spread through the white. and I caught myself thinking, is this my blood? Or is someone sitting at a desk somewhere watching me bleed on a screen? I turn my phone face down on every surface. I close the curtains before dark because the windows turn into mirrors at night and I can't look at the man standing where I'm standing. I can't explain why. Only that when I see him, I don't know which direction the looking is going. Last Saturday, I picked Lily up for my weekend. She climbed in the back, buckled herself in. She's proud she can do that alone. Started telling me about Mr. Buttons, the hermit crab, how he escaped the tank and her mom found him under the refrigerator. "Daddy, are you listening?" "Yeah, baby, I'm listening." "You look far away." 7 years old. She reached forward from the back seat and put her hand on my shoulder. Small fingers. Warm. I could feel each one of them pressing into me. And for a second, I was here. Completely here. Not the man on the monitor, not the figure in the corridor. Just a father in a car with his daughter's hand on his shoulder. Real, because she was real, and she chose to reach for me. Then we stopped at a red light. I looked up at the rearview mirror. My face, looking back at me. And the face in the mirror blinked. And I hadn't blinked yet. I looked away. Lily was still talking about the hermit crab. I don't know how to end this. I've been sitting here trying to find the right last thing to say. And I can't, because this isn't the kind of story that ends. It just becomes part of you. The part that checks cameras. The part that doesn't look in mirrors. The part that holds his daughter's hand a little too tight and hopes she can't tell. The part that still wears his father's watch, same scratch, same loose clasp, and sometimes catches himself staring at it, wondering if the other one is wearing it too. Right now, somewhere. I still do the things a person does. I go to work, I eat, I breathe. But sometimes, 3 in the morning, standing in my kitchen because I can't sleep again, I'll feel it. Quiet, patient, familiar. The certainty that somewhere, right now, a man is sitting in a small room in front of a wall of monitors. And on one of the screens, I'm standing in a kitchen, and he's watching me the way you watch someone you know. Someone you've always known. Someone you... I can't finish that thought. I've tried. I can't.